I will call the July 12th, 2021 meeting of the St. Paul Heritage Preservation Commission to order. So welcome to the Heritage Preservation Commission meeting. The Heritage Preservation Commission reviews applications for projects at heritage sites or within the heritage districts of the city of St. Paul. The commission also serves as an advisory body to the mayor and the city council on municipal heritage preservation matters for the city. All documentation utilized for this meeting is available on the commission website at www.stpaul.gov/HPC, and no new documentation will be discussed or recognized at today's meeting. Notice of this meeting was posted in the Legal Ledger and sent to the St. Paul Citywide Early Notification System, or ENS. To sign up for ENS, please visit the city website at www.stpaul.gov. If you have questions about notice, please contact the HPC staff. During this meeting, please mute your microphones except when recognized by the chair to speak. You can unmute yourself from your computer by pressing the microphone button or from your phone by pressing *6. After being recognized by the chair to speak, commissioners and staff will need to state their names before speaking, and everyone else will need to state their name and address before speaking. All deliberation and voting will be done via a roll call conducted by the chair, and staff will be monitoring microphones and muting participants as needed. And with that, I will take a roll call of our commissioners. Commissioner George, are you with us today?
I'm with you today.
Thank you. Glad to hear that. Commissioner Bazat.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Douglas?
Commissioner Douglas is on vacation.
Okay. Commissioner Lupke. Commissioner McDonald?
Here.
Hello. Commissioner Nelson?
Here.
Hello. And Commissioner Peroka? Commissioner Wagner? Let me just run through those three again. Commissioner Lupke? Commissioner Peroka? And Commissioner Wagner. Okay. So we have an agenda for our meeting today, and I would entertain a motion and a second for adoption of the agenda.
Commissioner Bazat, so move.
Thank you.
Nelson, second.
Thank you. Any opposition to the motion to approve the agenda? Adopt the agenda. Hearing none, we have the agenda is adopted. Are there any conflicts of interest today? Hearing none. Then our first item of business is the minutes for the June 14th, 2021 HPC meeting. And those were posted to the website. And so I'm assuming everybody's had a chance to review those. And I would, can I have a motion that the minutes are true and correct and should be adopted?
This is Nelson, so moved.
Thank you. Second on that?
Commissioner George, second.
Thank you. Any opposition to the motion to approve the minutes of the June 14th, 2021 meeting as true and correct? Hearing none, those minutes are adopted. So our only items of business today are the CLG review of the eastbound Kellogg River Center Bridge and the Kellogg 3rd Street Bridge. And Mr. Goss, are you speaking to that? Those items today?
Yes. So first of all, I know there's always some confusion with the CLG comments. I just wanted to say, so this is part of our certified local government contract between the city, HPC, and the State Historic Preservation Office. The HPC can choose to comment on potential effects of any federally funded project that may have on the effects it may have on any historic resources and allow for public comment of the projects. The HPC will not be taking any formal action, but they will compile comments on possible effects to the applicant and SHPO. So I was going to take both of these projects as one. I'll start with Kellogg and 3rd Street Bridge replacement. Project consists of removing bridges at eastbound Kellogg Boulevard and Exchange Street. New eastbound Kellogg Boulevard will consist of 2 traffic lanes, a right run lane and sidewalk. The vertical profile on Kellogg will be raised approximately 6 inches. Exchange Street will consist of 2 traffic lanes and a separated trail. The vertical profile of Exchange Street will be raised a maximum of approximately 3 feet, and the horizontal alignment will shift slightly to the north. In addition, Loading Dock Road will become a one-way loop, and the addition of a separate exit lane between the existing Loading Dock Road entrance. The eastbound Kellogg at River Center Bridge replacement. This project will reconstruct Kellogg Boulevard, 3rd Street, retaining walls, approach roadway, and the bridges. The preliminary project limits extend from Broadway Street to Mounds Boulevard. The project involves demolition of the current structure and reconstruction of piers, abutments, beams, bridge deck, railing, parapet, and approach roadways. The proposed bridge will accommodate 4 traffic lanes and a shared bicycle pedestrian facilities in both eastbound and westbound directions. The proposed determination for both proposals is no adverse effect. No historic property would be physically affected by the project, nor would visually affect the character of an historic property, which there are several historic properties around, and you could read those are all listed in the report. The staff recommendation is the 2 sites are in close proximity to several designated and eligible historic sites. Replacement of the bridges and associated work should not have any detrimental effect to any of the adjacent listed or eligible historic resources. Staff recommends concurrence with the agency determinations. Any questions?
Chair, I have a question for George, Commissioner Bazat.
Yes, Commissioner Bazat.
You know, I've been doing or have done over the past a lot of work on Cap Wigington, and are the piers and parts of the bridge that run from Wabasha to Robert, well, you know, about Robert, along 2nd Street that sort of doesn't exist. You know, it's the parking lot and that little feeder street that heads down off the Wabasha Bridge. But some of those appear to be original if you look at them from across the river. And those are Cap Wigington designs. Are those to be demolished?
Perhaps one of the project managers or
Okay.
Renee Barnes with MDOT could answer that question.
I can do that. I'm happy to harass Renee. Hi, Renee.
Hi, Barb. I am not 100% sure that about what piers are being demolished. However, I am sure that MnDOT has surveyed that bridge and those structures, and they are not eligible. So either they are missing too many of the historic material that CAP originally designed, that it doesn't have integrity anymore.
Oh, poo. All right. Well, having
I know.
been working on it for another project, I needed to ask. And as I say, when you look at it without binoculars from the other side of the river, like from Raspberry Island or Navy Island or whatever that's called now, it's difficult to tell what's original, what's repair, what's replacement. So thanks.
Any other questions for staff on these 2 issues?
This is Nelson. I have a question.
Commissioner Nelson?
Given that a huge amount of money is going to be spent on this project, I wonder, is there a way, might there be a way to wrangle a little bit of money for, say, a historical marker in the nearer to Seven Corners area about Old 3rd Street? Seems like this is an opportunity. The bridge is invisible. People not going to notice it. But it's a very historic location in the history of our city. What do we think? Any chance?
Yeah, that's definitely a form of mitigation, if you think. I mean, it's a comment. I mean, a lot of communities do those type of markers. I'm not sure the budget or if there's room in the budget, but it's a comment you can make, and it would be taken under consideration by Public Works, MDOT, and the SHPO.
Under the circumstances, in addition to the comment I just made or the question I asked, would it be more helpful to perhaps note some of the historic structures that used to be there?
Possibly. Maybe it's something that also has a reference to Cap Wigington and his previous work on that area. I don't know.
I second that idea, Commissioner Nelson, and particularly and Wigington as well.
I mean, Lord knows along there, there used to be all kinds of things, including, of course, West Publishing, and lots of historic structures from the early days. So just one more question, George. Is there a way, if I wanted to, and maybe with Commissioner Bizot, write a paragraph and submit that to someone?
Sure. If you want to put something together, we can certainly have that as part of our comments as well. A suggestion.
As well, I could also add tons of illustrations. The drawings are all at the Northwest Architectural Archive, and they've digitized them as part of the Umbra African American Collections Project, and so there are tons of them.
Okay, so Commissioner Bizot, let's you and I communicate about putting something together.
Yep.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for staff on these two projects?
This is Renee Barnes from MnDOT again. I just want to offer one point of clarification, if I may.
Sure.
So under section 106, the only way we would need to do mitigation items would be as if there was an adverse effect determination. So typically under a determination of no adverse effect, there would be no cause to need or do mitigation items.
Exactly, and it's certainly something we can check with the city about as well. I do have one more question, and maybe I should be saving these for. I've tried to read through all of the project descriptions and all of the documentation we received. I don't see anything about any changes to the mall itself between Wabasha and Robert. Will that remain untouched, George?
I believe so. I believe this is just the bridge areas, the roadway areas. But again, the project
like to me.
Chair and Commissioners, if I may interject, good afternoon. I am Brent Christensen. I'm one of the engineers with Public Works and Bridge Engineering. I'd like to provide just a bit of clarification. The eastbound Kellogg project limits are actually from Seven Corners and extend eastward only as far as Market Street. So the areas of the 2nd Street Bridge and Kellogg Mall are actually in between the two projects and not within the scope of this project. That bridge is, as you mentioned, is quite unique. It is yet another bridge built on the bluff to support Kellogg Boulevard, and it will surely need some serious rehabilitation or replacement in the relatively near future. But that bridge itself is actually east of Wabasha and outside of the project limits for these two projects.
Thank you.
And this Commissioner Bazat again, so, or should I wait until, I was just going to say, it's just that it is within the area of a potential effect. So that's why it's always on the maps. And it was a little difficult to determine which colors. There's a lot of cross-hatching and stuff. So thanks, George. Thanks, MnDOT and St. Paul Bridge folks for your clarification. Really appreciate it.
Okay, then any other questions for staff at this point? Let me just run through the roll quickly to just make sure we got everybody still online. Commissioner George, any questions for staff?
No questions at this time.
Thank you. Commissioner Bazat, any further questions?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Douglas, any further questions? Oh, no, she's not here today, sorry. Commissioner McDonald.
No questions.
Commissioner Nelson, any further questions?
Nothing more.
Okay, thank you. Then is there Ms. Burns or Mr. Christensen, did you want to make a presentation on these projects to the commissioners?
Commissioners, this is Brent again, and Dag DeJeanne and I are here representing the projects, and we are certainly able and willing to present a summary or specifics on either or both projects, should it be desired by any of the commission members.
Okay. Well, with that, why don't I open it up to the commissioners then for any questions, comments, suggestions. We've already had the one suggestion from Commissioner Nelson and Bazat about memorializing what was once there. But if there's additional thoughts, comments, questions, now is your chance to raise those.
This is Commissioner McDonald.
Yes, Commissioner McDonald.
Yes, I was curious as to the schedule for groundbreaking and ultimate completion for the projects.
Commissioner McDonald, we have a schedule set for the Kellogg 3rd Street Bridge project, which is from Broadway Street, Lower Town area, up to Dayton Bluff. That anticipated schedule would begin construction in the fall of 2022. And at the start of construction, Kellogg Boulevard would be closed to traffic for demolition and replacement. The closure on Kellogg Boulevard, so the main impact to traffic, would last 2 years until the fall of 2024. Some other work will continue underneath the bridge primarily into the following year. It is a very large structure, very tall, 2,000 feet long, and it crosses freeway and railroad, and that's the reason for that 2-year construction timeframe. Again, that project is funded. We did receive some special legislative bond funding this past year. We also have federal grant dollars allotted to the project, and then of course a local share. In terms of eastbound Kellogg, the schedule is a bit more ambiguous because we are simply not funded. We did make a request to the earmark program that is currently being considered and brought forward by the federal legislature. And we did make a project request, but to date, that request hasn't been advanced. We're also planning to apply for any sort of stimulus packages that may come from federal government. But at the moment, we have only about $7 million of federal funds that are actually risk being lost next year without advancing the project. And then we have about $3 million of local funds, but we have a project shortfall of nearly $24 million on that project. So upon funding and in coordination with some of the other major projects in the area, including the River Center ramp redevelopment, we do anticipate another 2-year construction schedule involving a number of closures on eastbound Kellogg, Exchange Street Viaduct, and Eagle Parkway.
Well, thank you for the update. I asked in part because it's going to be extremely difficult to get to our HPC meetings in the future.
Very noted, Commissioner. I'll have a word with our traffic engineer and see what he can do.
Thank you.
This will be
I didn't see any traffic control drawings in the set that we received, so.
True. Yes. Not quite there with the design. Yep.
Well, thank you again.
You're welcome.
This is
Thank you. Any
Commissioner
other questions?
Yeah, this is
Yes,
Commissioner
Commissioner
Nelson. That reminds me of another one. There's another proposal out there for a sort of balcony along the riverfront. I'm not sure where that stands in terms of funding or advancement, but if that should go forward, does that relate to these projects in some way?
Commissioner, I will actually let Dag introduce himself and answer that question, because Dag has been coordinating very closely with other city staff, including our planning and economic development project. And he can probably mention not only that coordination, but also, as I mentioned, some of the ramp redevelopment or science museum plans, all of those structures being connected, physically connected to the eastbound bridge.
Yes, thank you, Brent, and thank you, Commissioner, and also like to thank the Chairman as well. Thanks for the opportunity to comment on this. Yes, we've been coordinating with, like Brent mentioned, with several project stakeholders nearby, one of them being the River Balcony Project. It is somehow tied in the sense that they will be near our structure, but at this point, I haven't seen any specific plans. I believe they are in very preliminary conceptual level, conceptual plan development level. And so, but we are coordinating with them. Any impact would be limited to the west end of our project, closer to west of the Skyway Pier. And that has to do mostly with tying in the sidewalk area. We're also working closely with the PED and the River Center Ramp Redevelopment Project, and we're looking at interfaces in terms of location of the ramp and the impact that our project would have should the River Center Ramp project follow. In terms of the Science Museum, we're also working there with the Director of Facilities and stakeholders there. Specifically as to the impact of the drop-off zone on Kellogg. The drop-off zone will remain as our bridge project, eastbound Kellogg Bridge project, is reconstructed. We plan to retain that drop-off zone that exists currently with obviously improvements and modifications that are required. So in a nutshell, if I can say, I think this project is quite complicated. It does have direct impact and indirect impact to facility owners nearby. And from the get-go, we started the design back in May 2020, that's really when we onboarded our design consultants. But we've been engaged with major stakeholders, including the River Center Ramp, the Science Museum, And then on the north end, the River Center itself, the Xcel Energy Center. As you know, there's also a loading dock that we need to maintain its operations, or that we need to provide access to its operations, to its continued operations. And that's also something that we've been coordinating closely with the River Center and Xcel Energy Center. It will be a significant undertaking. I'm excited about this project. We are working closely with all the stakeholders, and we'll continue the coordination as we continue with the design.
This is Nelson again. If I could just follow up. I'm so glad you mentioned the River Center ramp. It seems to me a couple of years ago, we were told that the replacement of that ramp was an absolute necessity. Haven't heard much about it since then. Is it true that that thing must be replaced?
Commissioner, if I may, I would have to defer that to relevant authorities, I think, that are more capable of commenting on that. I am closely coordinating with them, but as to the status and the viability of the structure, I am not fully in tune with that, so I would have to defer that.
Commissioner Nelson, it's true. Planning and Economic Development is managing that project and really has the best current information. What we do know is that there were substantial repairs made to the ramp in that same time frame that they were looking at, and seeking state funds, similarly those legislative bond funds. And what we can say is that in our conversation with PED, with River Center Ramp, they understand that our project is kind of that near term, but unscheduled at this time because of funding. And they do believe that they can sustain the ramp, at least as it exists today, for a period of at least a few more years. That would allow us to construct were we to obtain our funding in the near future.
Thank you. That's helpful. Sounds like there's going to be a lot of concrete poured over there.
Chair, I have one comment for the presenters. This is Commissioner Bazat.
Yes, Commissioner Bazat.
I just want to say that I also had the question about River Center Ramp simply because I was going to say thank you for continuing the sidewalk from Kellogg on Exchange from Kellogg to Eagle Street. That has been a difficult hike to get down that hill without going all the way around. So thank you, and we will hope that whatever River Center Ramp reconstruction, new construction, repair, whatever they do to it, doesn't demolish. I presume that's what a 12-foot wide trail means, is that it's a walking pedestrian path down the hill from Kellogg to Eagle. Is that correct?
Thank you for that comment, Commissioner. Yes, that is correct. We do plan, as you saw and as you rightfully mentioned, the proposed plan is to include a shared use trail through the Exchange Street Viaduct. And that would allow bikers and pedestrians to make their way through the viaduct from the river level up to the Kellogg level. That will be separated. There will be a concrete barrier that will separate vehicular traffic from pedestrians. And that will be a major, I think, safety improvement in the overall design.
That was an understatement, but thank you for it.
Of course.
Very much appreciated.
Of course.
Any other questions, comments, suggestions from the commissioners on these projects? Let me just run through the roll once more time, just to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Commissioner George, anything to add?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Bazat?
No, thank you.
Commissioner McDonald?
No additional questions.
Thank you. And Commissioner Nelson.
Nothing more.
Okay, thank you. So we have a few comments on those projects, and we appreciate you coming in and making yourselves available to our questions and hearing our suggestions. And I guess we're done with that section of, or that item of business. And that being those being our only items of business,
Chair?
Unless there's, yes,
I
Commissioner
believe
Prasad.
we need to make some sort of formal statement. There's a suggested wording at the end of the letter we received from HPC.
Oh, that's right.
I didn't mean to interrupt you,
right.
but we probably should. And I move to make a motion if that works. Or I am raising my hand to make a motion.
Okay.
I
Yes.
move that the HPC concurs with the finding of no adverse effect as per the presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report.
This is Nelson. I second.
Thank you. And then we will vote on that motion. Commissioner,
Point of order. Did we want to add something about exploring signage or not?
Well, it seems to me that we received information from Ms. Barnes of DOT that requesting that type of documentation signage would come only if the HPC had a finding of adverse effects. And if this motion passes, that doesn't happen. So I think that we would have to pursue it with, hello, Brent, and those of you in Public Works, with the city itself rather than doing it through this format. That's my understanding.
This
Correct.
is Commissioner McDonald.
Yes,
I don't
Commissioner
think, yes, hi. On many of our MnDOT projects, even though mitigation wouldn't be mandated, there's no reason we couldn't ask MnDOT or other agencies to provide some historic context.
In that case, I would modify my motion to read, I don't have exact wordage, that was in brackets, something to the effect of in addition, go
I
ahead.
wrote it down. Sorry, I wrote it down. Would you like me to?
Please.
Okay. What I have is that signage that highlights the area's history, buildings lost, and Cap Wigington's involvement in the area was proposed or suggested.
In the area of potential effect, I would say add in the APE.
Okay.
So in other words, in addition, comma, the Heritage Preservation Commission requests that the participating agencies investigate the erection of some sort of documentation regarding blah, 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 blah. Oh, and let's try saying it exactly that way.
Yes.
See how that works.
Well, I think you mean historical marker rather than
Thank you.
documentation.
Thank you. That I do.
So maybe we should just so we're clear on what the motion is here. Can we restate that again? The entire motion.
I am moved that the HPC concurs with the finding of no adverse effect as per the presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report. In addition, the HPC recommends the erection of an historical marker that will document the
Area history,
George, can you?
area history
buildings lost, and Cap Wigington's involvement in the construction.
and architect Cap Wigington's involvement in the construction of the Kellogg Boulevard bridge between Wabasha and Robert, since there's nothing left of what he did west of that.
Okay, thank you. And can I have a second then for that amended motion?
This is Nelson. I second.
Thank you. And then I will, we have no further discussion on that motion, or do we have any further discussion on that motion?
Technically, you can if you want, but
Okay, you have your hand up there. Are you wanting to say something, Commissioner Bazat? Nope, okay.
I lied.
All right, hearing none, then let's have a vote on that motion. Commissioner George?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Bazat?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
And Commissioner Nelson?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. And with that, unless there's any other items of business anybody wants to raise, we are ready for a motion for adjournment.
Nelson, so moved.
Second.
Thank you. Who seconded that? Was that?
Yep.